unlike the last two mechs that I've uploaded, which went through some changes, this one had to go right back to the way it was.
With the new year comes a new
Like I mentioned before, it generally winds up being some combination of, small and micro lasers so that you avoid ghost heat, and then you cram in all your machine guns. Another build that I've seen is heavy mediums instead of having all these little tiny lasers. Um, let's see, Brios runs 3 heavy medium lasers, and then I've seen Baraduel running 4 heavy medium lasers, and then they both have half a dozen machine guns.
Someone calling out, but even sometimes people just don't.
And I kind of figured that the
Yeah, let's get everyone.
4 would be too hot, and then 3 would not quite be enough firepower. And what I found was that heavy mediums in general just aren't really enough firepower, at least not for me. They seem to play it well enough, but what I always ran into was I couldn't strip components reliably enough with the heavy medium lasers. If I uploaded all of my attempts of that, I mean, it just would have been failure montage after failure montage, where I was only doing, maybe 100 to 300 damage. So I had to come back to this build and see if I was playing exceptionally poorly, if I was just not piloting the Piranha very well in general, or if it was the specific weapon setups that I mentioned.
I don't know how they got up here already. I'm torn up.
So I went back to what had worked before, and have the micro and heavy smalls.
At the ramp.
Target spotted.
And with that archer, I probably should have gone for a side torso rather than going straight for the back, just because the side torso would have been guaranteed to get rid of plenty of weaponry. And here I'm kind of running around in the thick of things. Thankfully, I'm moving too fast for any damage to really register.
Stop on the ramp. You said to go up.
Yep.
Now, since I haven't played this sort of light in a while, I'm not as used to positioning myself as I should be. I kind of got a decent idea just tucking in here, but then I just stay there. And as a light, you should really never ever just stay there.
Whoever can take the favorable.
By the way, there's somebody running the exact same, or almost the exact same blackjack setup that I have. They're using light machine guns instead of heavies.
Go the way of whoever gets to the top of the tower. And Canyon Network, whoever.
It takes a while, I think 1 or 2 more pokes before I finally get a clue and move out from my current position.
Guy on top.
I mean, that Mad Cat still has a fair amount of armor, and my weapons are too short range to chew through that anytime soon.
Balls up.
So I run around to what is essentially the other side of the battlefield, because I know that if I can go all the way around here without touching their base, I'll be able to sneak up on somebody. There's always, at least one person who's kind of oblivious.
New target.
And I noticed there is a dragon moving this way. So I swing back around and
New target acquired.
Mad Cat forward as well.
trying to take out his side just so that I can get rid of that gun arm.
Why do we have all
It's not so much that the Rack 5 is a danger to me, but it's capable of doing quite a bit of damage to my team. And since he had an XL, he went down immediately. However, even if he didn't have an XL, I could have still taken him on because both side torsos were stripped, so I could kill him very quickly. And there's the archer that I shot in the center torso earlier. Turns out he also had an XL, so had I gone for the side, not only would I have been guaranteed weapons, but as it turns out I would have gotten a kill as well.
Target acquired.
So sometimes I'll have to try to remember, go for the sides rather than CT. And that, I think, was the blackjack that I was staring at for a little bit earlier.
Kind of boring whenever it's like
Target destroyed.
just kind of random.
Target acquired.
I agree with you.
I was really hoping to get this guy too. I wasn't sure if he was an XL or a light engine, but since he's got so few weapons, I was kind of thinking he was probably just a light engine build.
Target destroyed. Heat level critical. Base is being captured.
Also, I have to apologize for staying in night vision for the entire time. I haven't come up with a good key binding for it. It's still on its default in, which is on, of course, the right-hand side of my keyboard, and that means taking my hand off my mouse in order to engage night vision or even heat vision, which is H. So generally, if I turn one of those on, I just tend to leave it on. In certain parts of this map, I do need night vision to more easily spot my targets, but here, this is a very, very well lit area, so I should have turned it off earlier. And I just ran by that guy instead of engaging directly because they had a lot of ER medium lasers and quite a bit of armor. I mean, they were completely fresh when we found them. So I had the feeling that had I actually just run up the ramp, I would have, lost a side and probably just been cored out.
Target destroyed.
Thankfully, he went for the urban mech and then just overheated.
Enemy base is being captured.
I generally like to ask if the last person is AFK if nobody has eyes on them, just because a lot of teams are actually polite enough to tell you if they are or are not AFK, so that way you have an idea of whether you should be, spread out across the map looking for them, or if you should just go to their spawn point and try to find them.
Enemy
Here
base is
I'm
being captured.
not only looking around, but I'm also just torso twisting like crazy because I'm in a 20-ton mech. It's super flimsy, so if whoever's left has any decent firepower, they could very easily just shoot me in the back and kill me immediately. And then here, I think, is where you'll see the last kill of the match.
Enemy base is being
Although
captured.
it wasn't ours. Okay, maybe not quite yet. There we go.
Enemy base is being captured.
So I didn't even really get to go fight the last guy. Again, my team was doing the objective rather than just trying to wipe out all the enemy mechs, which is okay, just a little boring. But I got 3 kills, did almost 600 damage, and took out, I think, half a dozen components, which isn't amazing, but compared to the results I was getting with, the heavy mediums, I'm just so much happier with this. And I'm not really sure what else I would try. Since it has to boat, lasers and machine guns, I'm just so limited on my options that unless I come up with something really crazy, I think this is going to be the setup for this mech.